started, and unfortunately, we do not have a quorum for this meeting, which means that we will not be able to vote on the grants that we have before us today. But what we can do, I believe, is make recommendations on the grants, and at a later meeting where we can gather a quorum, we can ratify those recommendations. Is that correct? Okay, all right. So, and we do have, who do we have joining us virtually?
Hi, Tara Pascaros is here.
So who's joining virtually? Monica is joining us virtually.
And Tara, can you hear me?
And Tara? Virtually.
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, so we will go ahead and get started on the grants. We have 55 applications that came in by the deadline, and one that came in after the deadline. We will deal with that one after we go through the 55 applications that came in by the deadline. We have $275,445 to award. And so let's get started on these applications, beginning with number one, which comes from the Virginia Science Education Leadership Association. And this application plans to implement a statewide MWEE curricula and professional development for school divisions throughout Virginia that will take place over 12 months, beginning July 1 through June 30, 2026. It will train science leaders from over 50 school divisions so that more students will engage in meaningful project-based learning that contributes to a greater understanding of and stewardship towards the Chesapeake Bay watershed. And I believe they are asking for a total of $15,000, which is actually the total amount that can be requested from the Restoration Fund.
Hi, I just wanted to start by saying this was actually one of the first years where I noticed there were just a lot of grants requested without showing where the full funding was coming from, and not as much education to direct schools as we're used to seeing. But I thought this was a good project, but we don't usually pay for hotels and lodging. That's not something that I've seen happen quite often. A lot of times for camps and things like that, but $12,500 for 100 participants. They're asking $5,000 from us, so that was just one thing I noted, is that I do like the project a lot, but it's just not the norm that we pay for hotels and lodging.
So can someone respond to the issue about the lodging? Because that is quite a bit, because the majority of the funding is for lodging.
Yeah, they're asking for $5,000 from us, but that's still $10,000. And then the hotel venue is $2,800, which we also don't usually pay for that.
I'm looking at the list of things that we can and cannot.
Right.
Yeah, it says pretty clearly we can't.
It does list them, and it doesn't say hotels and lodging per se, but I do just find that to be an odd request. It's not something that I've seen very often. And I guess I've been doing this now for over 10 years.
The 2,800 is to cover the space and audio visuals at the hotel, and 5,000 would be for actual lodging.
So this is Monica Bilger. I also just had, going through with all of the, however many we had, so many requests, I found that I wasn't sure, like, implementation-wise, yes, they would get the education, but how many would actually be implemented, how much this would be utilized in comparison to so many other projects that had, like, boots on the ground, ready to go, had hands-on experiences. So while I do support the teacher education for this year with funding being tight, I felt that it was, you know, I moved on and found so many more projects that were actually being implemented versus the education on the forefront for this year. Not to say that I oppose it, it's just there were other programmatic, ready to go requests.
Yeah, I kind of put a hold on this one as well.
Madam Chair, since we don't have a quorum, how do you want us to move past an item? Are we?
I don't want us to spend a whole lot, of time dickering over them. So if we don't want to fund them, let's just move on.
And are you looking for a motion from us, or are
We can't have a motion because we don't have a quorum.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
then
think we should move on with this one.
So then can I just make a recommendation that we move on?
Yes.
I do then.
Okay, we'll just move on from this one and move on to item number 2, which comes from Virginia Tech. It's a continuation with their previous grant applications for 4-H, which seeks funding for their watershed education in 6th grade classrooms and for the environmental programming of the 4-H Water Wizards Day Camp, which is a bay grass restoration service learning project and in-school science SOL enrichment lesson, and they're asking for $2,025.
I put fully funded for this one because it is a nice hands-on experience.
I agree.
So we're recommending that to fully fund the Virginia Tech's 4-H project for $2,025.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we all in agreement on that recommendation?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and who's keeping our running total?
I am.
Okay, all right.
And then Senator Locke, I appreciate that you're reading the project summaries, but in the past, we haven't always done that, and that might save us some time too, but that's up to you.
I mean, it's helpful for me to know what it is that we're funding, okay? Unless we don't want to know, I mean, I'm fine and just go ahead, move through them.
Yeah, I've reviewed all of them, so.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Okay, number 3 is the Peter Francisco Soil and Water Conservation District requesting $15,000 for their SOL-related environmental education programs.
I wondered where this was, because I'm trying to keep geography in mind here of Virginia, and I wasn't quite clear where this.
The address that they list is in Buckingham County, I suppose. And I also had this.
So this is up in the headwaters of the James River. Buckingham County is going to be in the mountains, Buckingham and Cumberland. And we have approved things in the past from areas up there because, again, it's the entire Chesapeake Bay watershed.
Yeah. And my only issue is that it was a lot of private and homeschool, which nothing wrong with that, but a lot of private schools do have additional funding that public schools don't. And a lot of the funding, once again, is lodging and program fees. So I just thought that was a little off, which we just don't normally do that. What were you gonna say, Monica?
Well, for what I saw, because it was multiple different types of field trips, and it was across high school, it was across middle school, it was across, and also for adult programming. Some of the programs were for the overnights, if there were some, I believe, but because it went across middle school, high school, in 2 counties, as well as adult education outreach, and there were service projects attached that they were expecting to connect with that. I felt that this had a big, broad range of touch for the communities impacted.
And they did a really good job on detailing where the funding was going. So again, even though it's only it's $1,000 for lodging, that is a really good price for all the 6th graders that are included in that.
Notice that we do have a lot of soil and water conservation districts throughout Virginia applying for these funds for education, which is great, but I'm just wondering if maybe we have, is there any kind of fairness where we always fund one in each district, or we have, is there any precedent for how we fund these sanitation water districts?
Not that I've
I'm
been
not-
in the past.
There hasn't really been, I mean, to me, it's really based on touches and quality of the request. So I'm not sure it's unfair, just like, I think there was a total of 10 or 12 schools applying. So, I mean, you can say soil and water can be treated one way as a whole, or you just look at them individually, which is the way I would tend to do it.
Yeah, and this is the only one they applied for. And we've certainly funded in the past.
I don't think it's been like one versus the other.
Okay.
I just have something to add. I'm Laura Kasdorf. I'm the science coordinator at the Department of Education. I was curious about the simulator, how that fits in, because it says it has to run on a desktop computer, and they're talking about field trips. So I'm curious, like, how that fits in with the plan for the grant, right? Like, if you're taking the students somewhere, are you taking a desktop computer with you, or how does that work?
What note are you speaking of? Where is that listed?
It was it was part of their, it says the educational supplies, and then it says see attachment B for itemized cost breakdown.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the AR sand table. It's like a virtual reality watershed simulator, which I think sounds interesting, but I just don't feel like I know how it connects to the rest of their programs, since when you read the details on the website, yeah, and it has to run off a desktop computer, so it's not mobile. So how does that fit in with the student experiences where they're taking them somewhere? And I also found issue with some of their opening things. They talked about game and inland fisheries as a department, which doesn't exist anymore. So I was just curious about how up to date some of their information was.
Yeah, when I put in my recommendation for this one, I just said to take out, like, I put approximately 7,000 because the rest of it looked like it was really in accordance with what we usually fund money for. Which is similar to what we did, I think, with their request last year. But we need to make note of it, like what we're not paying for.
I think the Fish and Wildlife Service was related to a service project, which is why I was tending to be and admittedly, I think perhaps it would be nice to know exactly what the service project was, but my assumption would be that's where I think the service projects where you actually do some conservation or preservation or, in that space is typically something that I would be supportive of, but I don't necessarily see what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we stick with the actual camps and field trips, right, which they're asking for 4,000, 5,500, 6,500 plus another 900. So it's like $7,400 is for camps, and the rest of it is for a lot of supplies and lodging. So that's sort of where I'm at with it. But open to suggestions.
That's a good idea.
I'm
So the recommendation is what?
7,400.
So the recommendation is for $7,400.
I'm okay
That's
with
what I
that
added up for the camps.
Yeah, I would second that.
if we were doing motions.
If we're doing motions. So the recommendation for Peter Francisco Soil and Water Conservation District is 7,400.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
All right. Our next one is Buckingham County Middle School, requesting $6,082.27. And they're doing this project in association with the James River Association for sixth grade students.
My question about
So
this one
originally,
is how,
I had zero because of the other soil and water conservation district going across all the schools. But if we cut that back, then I would be in favor of supporting this project.
At the full amount of $6,082.27.
I recommended this project too.
but
Yes,
it's the
'cause I
same
do
students
believe
as the
that-
previous one.
I think she's saying it's the same students.
Mine is transportation if we wanted to not put transportation in if we're concerned since it's not an overnight, but otherwise I'd be fine with the full amount as well.
We're also doing a lot of this region right now. I don't know if we're gonna run out of funds. So we might
Wanna
wanna skip
come
if
back?
it's,
A lot of times what we'll do is we'll put in our recommendation, and then at the end, we can go back and take some funding away if we feel like needs to be taken away, but we don't usually like, preferentiate based on where their location is either. We just do it on like the basis of the project.
Okay, we also have a request here to come back to this one, since we just did a request for the same area.
yeah, we're concerned that we might be duplicating the schools.
They're
Right.
both for
Yeah,
Buckingham
that
County
was my-
students.
Okay, so why don't we come back?
I'm in agreement with coming back to that one at the end.
Yeah.
So we're holding on number 4.
Yes.
Coming back, okay, going to number 5, which is Friends of the Occoquan, request for $8,000, which is a continuation with a previous grant project.
Yeah, I just minused out of this. They wanted funding for a project manager and contractual supplies. It said something about supplies contractual for like 3,000 and a project manager. So I like the project a lot, but we don't pay for staff. And that's 2,500 that they're asking for. And then contractual cleanup barrels, community gardens, advertising license, palm cards. They did describe that. So yeah, I said that was a good one minus the 2,500.
So we
Agreed.
subtract out the 2,500.
So that puts us at 5,500? Am I doing the math right?
Yeah,
Yes.
So recommendation to fund this one at 5,500?
Yes, I'm good with that, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right. Okay, next we have James City County Department of Parks and Rec. It's a continuation of a previous application for their educational programs for children, $8,412.
Looks good to me.
Agree.
great project.
Yeah, agree.
So we're good with this one?
I have no issues.
Okay,
8412, right?
8412, right. Next is Nature Forward, requesting $15,000 for their field-tested environmental lessons.
This was almost all salaries. And I feel like people that are applying and asking for like a majority of salaries, they need to really read the description and reapply because it sounds like a great project, but
Yeah,
if
the
it was going
salaries.
towards the students, not the salaries.
I agree. I think they need to
Yes.
reapply.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we'll set this aside.
It is a great project. I've actually done it, and it's a wonderful program. However, it is, almost all salary. So I also recommended not
Yeah,
to
and it's a
reapply.
It is a bummer that they didn't apply for the right funding. So we
There's
just
not,
We have folks from the
yeah,
Coast Guard.
there's not a lot in,
So we're now at number 8.
And number 8 is Tidewater Oyster Gardener Association, requesting $9,900, a continuation of a previous grant application to promote environmental health of the Chesapeake Bay through oyster cultivation. And I believe, is someone here? Yeah, they're here. Always here.
Awesome. Do we want to let them speak first before we make a recommendation?
What would you like to hear from us? We put 600,000. Last year with what you provided, we were able to put 600,000 oysters into Chesapeake Bay. We also talked to, and I'm not sure if it's 25 or 28 youth groups, along with almost 30 adult outreach events, and that's what the funding went for. We appreciate the effort that people here in the Chesapeake Bay Foundation has provided to us. We're basically a grandparent group of 600 families that run from essentially the 301 bridge all the way down to the Tidewater area.
Great, thank you.
I love this project. I think it has a great reach and it's very descriptive with other forms of money that they're getting from other funding locations, which I love to see that. So it's not like they're just relying on us. I thought it was a great project.
Madam Chair, I'm okay with the 9,900.
So the recommendation is for the full funding of 9,900. Are we all agreed to that?
Yes, I agree.
All right. So next is the Waterman's Museum requesting $14,900 to support the Chesapeake Bay Resiliency Project.
I should maybe answer questions if you have that.
Okay.
Did they say someone's there from them as well?
We have someone from the Oysters Project who can answer questions if we have questions for them.
Okay, cool. It's a pricey project, but I love it.
With the Waterman?
Yeah.
This is the Waterman's Museum.
So my only issue was that, you know, from a perspective of what they were doing, there was a lot of the bay-related environmental problem really only had a kiosk related to it. So while there is quite a bit of wonderful, like, on-the-water information, I think some of it was more workforce and history, which is good. But when it comes to the purpose of the Chesapeake Bay, kind of in the conservation restoration space, given all the other projects, I would love to give them money, but I think that I would either pause and come back to this, or I offered $1,000 for the actual kiosk that addressed Bay education.
Madam Chair, I agree. I thought it seemed heavy on kind of almost a display museum kind of emphasis, and not quite as much hands-on in the community. So maybe we should also hold and see if we have funds at the end.
That's a good idea.
So we'll come back to this one?
I think so.
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, so let's see this one. The next one is Lexington City Schools request for $15,000 for funding to complete their project's goal of making students aware of conservation and stewardship of the Chesapeake Bay.
This is another example of where they're asking for staff programming fees and food as well. So there were a lot of things in here that I love the project though. Like I really want to help these 7th graders, but there were a lot of things in here that we don't usually pay for. Transportation is not something we commonly pay for. Staff programming fees and ferry fees and food.
Right.
Madam Chair, I also agree there. I was a little confused by the data. I didn't see how many number of students would be served or percentage of students in need. I assumed it seemed like there was food for 58, but it was still a little confusing to me. I put in for 5,000 just because of what it does, but I also put it as a placeholder, just because I didn't feel there was enough data.
It didn't state how many students, it just said 58 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I right that it's
And again, I
15,000?
love the project.
That's a lot of money for not a lot of
Right.
data.
It is.
My suggestion actually was for them to reapply with more specific information.
And following the guidelines of the grant process. So I would agree with that. So we'll set that aside.
Okay.
Not to come back to, just set it aside.
Okay. Next is I'm gonna mess this up. Potomac Elementary School requesting $1,400 to continue their Nature Nights program.
That sounds fun.
And have we?
I really liked it, Madam Chair. It had multilingual access for families. I thought this is a great way to engage and expand access to programming.
Yeah, full funding for sure.
And this is consistent with and actually less than what we funded last year.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so recommendation for the $1,400.
Yes.
Okay, good. Next is Chesapeake Academy, requesting $5,000 for phase one of a two-part program to rehabilitate their nature trail.
As much as I love the Chesapeake Academy and all the work they do, most of this was construction, and I know that's going to educate the kids, but it was a lot of construction. But I'm open to suggestions from the rest of the committee.
I think that there are other sources that could be tapped into for this.
Yeah, I'm looking at our guidelines, and it says activities that are not eligible for funding include capital construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Great.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Great academy, but this isn't the project.
Yeah. And again, it's just important to note to them, like, hey, you can't apply for construction costs. Like, they could have probably gotten some money from a better, well-written grant. It's unfortunate.
Okay, next is the Culpeper Soil and Water Conservation District, asking for $2,905 to supplement 25 science teachers at 7 middle schools.
I love the large reach here. And so I did put to fund this. I do because it's helping all these students. But it's for to supplement the teachers, but teachers need supplementation. We know that in the public schools.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. It seems like a reasonable amount, too.
Yeah.
Are we good with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next is Keep Enrico Beautiful project,
And just to confirm, Madam Chair, that's 2905.
2905, yes.
Okay, I just want to be sure that the folks that are keeping track of the running tally.
Next, Keep Enrico Beautiful for $5,342 is to create environmental activity books.
So my understanding, and perhaps I'm wrong here, was this was for kindergarten books, and I wasn't sure if the employee was getting paid for creating the book. I had a few questions about that. So I wasn't sure where this was going.
Agreed. I was curious to the exact same thing.
Do we have the education
I think
consultant?
they're pretty clear. It's for the actual printing of the books, not the generation of the content, because they give a quote from the printer, right?
It says that they had
Oh, you're
already
right.
created the book, right?
Yeah, the volunteers, or not volunteer, an employee is creating the book, I think, as part of their regular work activities, and they're just asking for printing costs.
Got it.
Oh,
Sorry, I
yeah,
missed.
thank you.
So the money is to actually print the book, to print the first run of the book.
So is that something that's really in our a kind of a printing?
We've definitely done it before. There's nothing that says we can't do that. I mean, it's a cool project. I just wish it wasn't all for printing, but.
It is a lot of money, 5,300 to not be direct with children. I'm wondering if we should maybe hold and see if we have enough to fund this at the end.
I'm good with that.
I originally, yeah.
I like that it focuses on kindergarten, because so many of the projects don't start till like 6th grade, and I love that they're trying to start with a younger group, right? Like, I think that's to their advantage.
Me too.
I do agree, but having kindergartners sometimes, coloring like a sheet of paper and taking something home, it just seems like a very expensive cost. But I do agree that starting early is wonderful. I'm not sure a book is necessary if we have other projects that might have more value.
We've also recommended in the past to get like another quote on more reasonable cost and try again next year, because that is pricey.
Well, I think maybe holding and see if we have enough money at the end. I mean, it's worthwhile, but my value is actual hands-on.
Yep.
Okay, we can hold
Agreed.
for now and come back to it. Okay, next is the Urbana Oyster Festival. Continue with the previous grant application in the amount of $15,000. It's to support their Marine Science Legacy Program.
This is an awesome festival, an awesome program. I was just wondering, it didn't allocate where the funding was going from us. It was like listed a lot of places it could go, but didn't say where it was gonna go. So I think we should definitely fund it. I mean, we always have in the past, but I just wanted to know like where the funding was gonna go. It didn't say what it was allocated for. Did anyone else see that specifically?
I had a question about, it has $4,200 for insurance, $4,300 for security, $1,000 for lunch. Is all of that being requested for CBF funds?
Yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah, I
So
think they
it's
gave
almost
us-
like,
Yeah, I'm sorry, they go ahead.
I was gonna say, we could almost say we're happy to fund it, but we would need to make sure that it goes to the field trips for the kids, or the kayak exploration, or the freshman academy boat trip.
I
So
seem, I seem to remember that in the past, I'm looking at what we funded these for before, where it's usually been about half of it, that we've usually picked something like, I'm just looking at line item number 1 that says, okay, we'll give you the $8,000 for the educational field trips on the bay because that's something that we can tangibly kind of wrap our head around, and it's not insurance, it's not security, it's not the lunch and other things. And so I think that's what we've done in the past with these.
Okay.
And so
agree.
I think we could do the same thing this time, and it would be consistent with the funding that we've provided in the past, which would be $8,000 for the educational field trips, and then we've hit on the things that I think are important to the commission.
Okay, so.
Yeah, agreed. When as I'm looking at
Agreed.
project budget, I think when it gets down to Tangier Island for $300, after that, it says Urbana Oyster Festival Foundation funding. So I think everything above that might be what they're asking from us. I didn't add it up, but yeah, I think that's a good idea, what you just suggested. To give them $8,000, but only for the field trips.
Foundation is.
Agreed.
$8,000.
$8,000, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you all still there?
Oh, my mic was off.
We,
I'm here.
we are still here.
Sorry.
Sorry.
We have VIMS requesting $1,465.
Love them.
So I have,
Go ahead. You go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I really liked it for reasons that we're always looking at workforce pipeline, and I think exposure to having an idea about the fisheries, aquaculture, ocean research, conservation careers. I think they all go hand in hand, and it opens up an opportunity. So to me, I do like it, even though it isn't necessarily a typical inline item.
Yeah, I also think it's good. It's one of the few that really talk about workforce issues, so that's great. I would have liked a little more detail on where these materials are going to be displayed and how they're actually going to reach young people who might be interested in these careers, but it does seem like a pretty professional proposal.
So are we good at recommending $1,465 for VIMS?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have Isaac Walton, League of America, requesting $15,000 for continuation and expansion of Salt Watch and Nitrate Watch.
So I supported this. I did remove printing and shipping, but I'm not sure if that's necessary. I wasn't quite sure, but I put in for 12,500.
I put in for full funding, obviously, if we have enough at the end. So I think I like that price that you came up with because that'll give us a buffer for additional funds for other groups.
So if we want to take out the shipping and the printing, then that puts us at what, 12.5? Is that what someone said?
Yes, that's at 12.5.
So I think considering we have more demand than we have money at this point, that we go with 12.5 and then we come back to it and see where we are, but we can at least start with 12.5. Is everybody else okay with
Are we
that?
okay with 12.5 for Isaac Walton?
Yes.
And coming back in case there's extra funding, yes.
Yes, correct.
So this looks like it's a lot of boat trips, Virginia Aquarium admission. I guess there is some bus
Field trips.
transportation.
Well, it looks like they've moved the transportation items over onto the other side, and that's part of the project that they're going to pay for themselves. So the volunteers and the transportation. So I think they've done this enough times that they've moved the things that are not allowable off to things that they're covering.
Agreed.
I thought it's a wonderful opportunity for kids that learn differently to get out there and have an opportunity to engage in the water.
And why did you say kids
My-
that learn differently? I didn't see all of this. Is the Chesapeake Bay Academy a special school for kids with different learning styles?
Yeah, it says they focus on students with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia, ADHD, all kinds of
ASD
things like
and,
that.
and language-based learning difficulties.
Yeah, it's an amazing program.
My question is really about the educational nature of the dolphin tour and the whale tour, just like what that gets them in terms of environmental stewardship and environmental literacy. You know, I think the boat trips and the learning barge and things like that, for sure, but some of the others feel more entertaining than educational.
I agree. I had some concerns about that as well. The only thing I started thinking about was different parts of the bay do have opportunity to see dolphins and whales, and I wasn't sure if they would include some, the health of the bay increases, dolphin populations. But again, it doesn't. If it's just a tour and it doesn't have that component, I don't know. I could go either way.
Well, and I know with the aquarium, because I'm based right here in Virginia Beach, that they do incorporate boat tours and whale tours from the aquarium that are included with admission too. So maybe we could put a note in there like that we're going to fund it partially and they could find a better price because it shouldn't be $20 for a student to go on that tour. But don't quote me on that. But again, I agree with you all. I thought it was a little odd to have that. If they're going to go to the aquarium, that's uber educational. And they can tag on a boat tour there. But going to the aquarium in itself, I think is a great opportunity, for sure.
So, Madam Chair, if I might suggest that we take out the $1,472 for both of the whale tour and the boat tour which is about is about $3,000 and probably cuts this about in half, and then we can come back to it if we have money left over.
Okay.
Yeah.
If somebody can help me with the math, 1472 times 2 is,
It was, it goes down to $3,112 if we fund it,
so
taking
3,000.
both of those out.
So we'll look at $3,112. Thank you.
Okay, so 3112.
It's like our own online version of Alexa.
Okay, all right. So for Chesapeake Bay Academy, we would do 3,102.
3,112.
Okay.
3112.
3112, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next we will have Virginia Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts Educational Foundation requesting $12,000 to support their Envirothon program.
I'm a big proponent of this. There's opportunities to have new and out, tomorrow's leaders is what I posted. So I do think this is a great opportunity to really engage and reward for thinking outside the box, coming up with opportunities to, turn this into an education, but also competitive space.
Yeah, I like the project a lot.
Okay. Okay. So we're good with 12,000 for them?
Yep, and we've done this fairly consistently before.
All right, good. Okay, that moves us to Northern Virginia Conservation Trust.
This is another example where the requested amount is almost all salaries, and I put down to reapply next year.
Yeah, this was primarily all salary.
There's some like single kayak renting and tandem kayaks and things like that. Grabber tools, so I mean, we could put in funding for that. But most of it's salaries, and it's kind of frustrating when you see a group that, I just feel like they should read the fine print a little better. Because there were a lot of them this year.
I think since they were doing a cleanup, I was in for the covering kayak rental, life jackets, paddles for $15.55, but I'm open to passing, and if that's what the consensus is.
Is the math that you're doing, is that from the kayaks down? Is that 1555?
It's
Yes,
1771.
it would be for 8.
If you include the trash bags and the work gloves and all that, it comes out to 1771.
Yeah.
All the
I
new
do
hours.
like
The trash bags are matched.
Yeah.
They match the tools and the
Oh,
bags.
yeah,
and
thank
the
you. I missed
gloves.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the $15.55 is for the kayak rentals and the delivery fee with life jackets and paddles. So it's a total of $480 plus $825 plus $250.
So do we want to do that?
I think we can do that.
Yeah, I think the 1555 is good.
Yes.
So 1555 to Northern Virginia Conservation Trust?
For those 3 items.
Okay.
And I think we've done that before as well, where we have identified in the award letters that the funding is supposed to be for
Right.
specific use.
Exactly. Okay, next, the Civic Association of Holland Hills is requesting $11,099.
Have we ever funded this before?
It does not appear so.
No.
This, Delegate Simons, this spreadsheet here will tell you where we have and have not funded them before. And it's a great reference because you can see that in some instances we're funding programs that have been in existence for years.
I just feel like our money could be put towards more educational projects that have a larger reach. It's a civic league, which is great. I mean, it looks like they're doing good things for their neighborhood park, but I do feel like there's not a lot of an educational component in this one.
And it is a lot too.
Yeah,
And planting and fencing.
it doesn't seem like it's in our purview.
I think we can set this aside. That would be my recommendation.
Agree.
Okay, next is the Friends of Richmond Community High School, $12,000. Expansion of their mini master.
Yes, I liked this project. I liked how they laid everything out. It was very nice to see it done this well. And I just removed the YMCA team building and recommended 10,800.
That's exactly what I did. Just minus the team building, because it's a great project and it's got a good reach.
My question is,
So how much?
oh, sorry.
They were recommending.
10,000?
10,800 is what they were recommending.
Yeah, because we would take out the 1,200 for team building. But they did a really good job allocating where the funds were gonna go. I wish everybody used this format. Like, I almost wish we could suggest a format like this. It makes it a lot easier.
So my only, like, not really concern, but it raised some questions for me is, why are they going all the way to Maryland to do this? They're in Richmond. We have tons of great outdoor resources closer where they could really cut down their transportation costs. It says, they're going to state parks in Maryland. Like, how did they choose that particular location instead of any of the great state parks we have in Virginia? And they have great environmental programming also.
Yeah,
That's-
I see that.
Good question, and I didn't catch that. Good job. Yeah, I mean, it says Delmarva, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We are all one day, but
yeah.
I agree. It
But
would be nice to see it in Virginia.
Maybe we could suggest that to them. Because they did a lot of work and research on this, and I don't think we would break their heart if we said, could you do this at a Virginia State Park?
Right,
I think that's fair.
that's fair.
Is Chesapeake Island, I guess isn't it kind of in that weird little space of Virginia, Maryland, though?
Well,
Is that what?
yeah, because it's right by Chincoteague. So is that in Maryland? It says Maryland all over this document, though.
Yeah, I didn't catch it till you get to the budget spreadsheet part where it says Maryland State Park camping fees, Maryland Park Guide services, things like that. Yeah.
I think you get
I'm
to
hoping that-
Chesapeake through Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
I mean,
they
it is a
will
unique-
be experiencing a Virginia environment habitat. It's just there's a border on that island. So I think maybe we should fund it since they did a good thorough job for this year, but with a recommendation that next year we want to see everything in Virginia, please.
Yeah, and I think that border of Chincoteague and Assateague, it goes right through Virginia. So there's a little part of Assateague in Virginia.
I like that recommendation.
Yeah, just to be specific, Assateague Island's a 37-mile long island along the coast of Maryland and Virginia. Most of it is managed by Maryland and the park, so just FYI.
Okay, so 10,800.
Yes.
Did I get that right? Okay.
Right.
So where are we in terms of total?
Madam Chair, with those on hold, to come back to right now, we are at a total of $86,974, leaving $188,471 to allocate.
Okay, all right. Okay, next we have the Mountain Castle Soil and Water Conservation District for $8,400 and continue with previous grants.
Yeah, I believe I recommended full funding for the 8,400 because the
did
restoration
too.
fund asked for the canoe rental paddling instructions in the James River experience for 300 students, which is pretty good.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they've already taken into account the wages and the transportation, so clearly they've been doing this for a while and know what is covered and what isn't.
Yeah, agreed. I did put a caveat to take out bus transportation for 1,500 if we're running low on funds.
They didn't ask for the bus transportation. That's part of the cost, I think, that they're covering on their own. They're
Oh,
only,
good. Oh, good. Nice.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought the way that I read it was that they were covering that, yeah.
Okay,
So the
perfect.
8,400 is just for the items that would be for the educational benefit of the children.
Right.
So I'm okay with that.
So 8,400 for Mountain Castle Soil and Water Conservation District.
Correct. Yes.
For $15,000.
Madam Chair, I thought this was a pretty impressive number of students that was going to be covered by this. Looked like 1,400 seventh grade students would be able to participate in a hands-on program.
And a lot of them are in lower income areas as well, which I think is a huge benefit.
Right.
I had two questions about this one and how it connects to another application. So the first is what I was having trouble drawing the connection between the PD for the teachers that's provided by the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, but then the actual experience for the students is the Virginia Living Museum. So I wasn't sure how those two pieces connected. Like if they're paying someone to do this experience for the students, how does that connect to what they're asking money for teachers for? And then there was another application, I think it was 25-038, that's for a middle school in that same division, asking for similar funding for one particular middle school. So I just wasn't sure how those two applications connected, and then how the PD fit in.
So the way I read it, and I could be wrong, is that the VLM program was 16,000, and that wasn't including teacher PD, or it was just the programming for the students. So we would be paying 15,000 of that 16,240.
Yeah, that's the way I read it as well, that they weren't asking us to pay for the professional development. And in terms of the other school, Booker T. Washington is an environmental magnet program, and they have a different kind of a kayaking program. So it's different than this.
Madam Chair, I think that this is consistent with what we funded before because it is such an efficient program. I think the reason why last year we ended up trimming it back was because we went through, we approved a bunch of things, and then we had less money, and so we went back and we prorated everything. And so I think that, again, this year we should probably start with the full 15,000, and then let's hope that we can get through this and be able to fund these good programs.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Great.
So, okay, 15,000 for Newport News Public Schools. Okay, next is Bull Run Mountains Conservancy Incorporated for $1,200.
So I love the project. I mean, I like the project, but it's 6 students at $200 a student for $1,200. That's all they're asking for from us. And it's a small amount to ask for, but it's not a huge reach. But I do like the project.
Is there anything special about these 6 children that will get selected?
And how?
And how?
Yeah, and it's a scholarship, right? But
It's kind of a scholarship to become a watershed ambassador is how I'm reading it, but I'm not sure. I mean, I do like it because sometimes it's, you do need student advocates, and awarding it to those students that might have an extensive interest might be helpful to have them run something in their own schools, but we don't see like, are they coming from different schools? Are they, yeah, I'm not sure.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, it says youth from 15 to 18. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest that we just put this in our pile to come back to, and just see where we are with funding at the end. A hold pile.
Cool.
That's my hold. Is Sustainable Chesapeake for $15,000.
This is also includes, it says, it doesn't give a lot of details of where the money's going. It tells us we're not paying for staff. But the 15,000 that they're actually asking for, I just wasn't 100% clear on like what we were paying for. Contractual expenses associated with video production and publication on social media platforms, which it's nice to see people including social media and publication and things like that, distributing to the farmers, which is good to see something unique like that. But I didn't feel like this was a great fit. It's a cool project, but not a great fit. And
I would
agree.
agree.
I don't know what they're
I
paying
struggled
for.
with.
I'd recommend that we just
I
set it
think
aside.
that- Yep, agree.
I agree with that. The Greater Reedville Association for $9,000.
I felt like this wasn't really a watershed education activity. It was more like engineering design of like designing and building boats. I wasn't sure what the connection was really to the watershed, other than taking the boats out on the water once they built them.
I know that they'll become watershed ambassadors of the Chesapeake Bay. The students will. But yeah, this one, I gave it like a 2, so I just wanted to get everyone else's thoughts too.
I did not recommend funding this project.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
I'm
I
okay with
recommend
that.
we set this one aside. And just
Agreed.
to point out, this Reedville is in no way related to me.
Okay, so you say.
Different spelling of Reed.
That's pretty funny. Before we do the next one, I actually am currently working with Clean Virginia Waterways. So do I need to take myself away from even speaking on behalf of that one, which I love, by the way? I didn't have anything to do with the grant. I started working for them after they submitted the grant, but just wanted to put that out there.
So for the next one, United Charitable Clean Virginia Waterways, you are connected to?
Yes, ma'am. I'm working with them.
Okay.
To work with them. So
All
I'll
right.
be very biased if I give my opinion.
Okay.
I just don't know what the rules are on that.
If I were you, I would just not speak to it.
Sounds good.
Okay. So United Charitable Clean Virginia Waterways is requesting $7,950 for their project.
Madam Chair, I recommended funding at $7,200, but removing the shed.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's.
I'd be fine with that, Madam Chair.
I agree.
So that's all of the things up in that top paragraph with the exception of the shed.
Shed and lock, right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So 7,200?
7,200. Okay, we're good with that one. Moving to Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, requesting $13,700 supporting kindergarten green learning guide.
I thought this was pretty good. I mean, being from Hampton Roads, I do hear about HR Green. Like, I feel like they do a good job communicating with the public and running their rain barrel workshops. So I'm happy to support this one.
I love it, and I really do. I just wondered, do we fund grants? There's $2,500 for 5 projects of up to $500 each. I just
For them to give out.
wasn't familiar if we have been funding grants in the past.
So do we give a grant to someone else for them to then do their own grant where we would
Right.
lose control of how the money was used? I think the answer would
Right.
probably have to be no.
That's good, that's good.
Well, it isn't on our list of no-nos here.
No, I know, but we have specific guidelines about how this money's supposed to be used. So if we give it to someone else to give a grant, the only way that it would work properly is if we said you can only give it if it meets the guidelines of the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Commission.
Well, it does say environmental education mini grants.
Maybe we give them more specifics if we decide to grant that amount, but I feel like we're gonna be running low on funding, so maybe taking that out is a good thing just to do right from the get-go on this one.
Take out the 2,500.
Which then makes that 11,200.
Can I ask another question? Their
Yeah.
green learning guide, it says creative development and design. Is that just a way to say salaries for development without calling it a salary?
I would agree with you. I kind of took that out myself when I was looking at this. I just felt like that, I didn't understand that as.
So then we'd be taking out the 6,500 and the 2,500, which is $9,000, leaving what, 4,700? If I'm doing the math right?
Leave the outreach materials for 3,500 and the rain barrel workshops at 1,200. Yeah.
I think that would be
So how much are we doing?
4,700. These two down here at the bottom, the 3,500 and the 1,200. So 4,700 for the workshops and the outreach materials.
So it's a total of
4,700.
4,700.
Yes, ma'am.
You can see, are we good with 4,700?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So next is the Virginia Association for Environmental Education, requesting $10,000.
It's almost all salaries.
Yeah, it's all out.
It's a bummer, but yep.
They
I
have
passed
some
on.
salaries and fringes in here.
Yeah, and it doesn't really even, yeah, it's almost all requests. They need to read the rules and reapply.
Yeah, because I don't see on here where it says what the $10,000 would be
Right.
used for, and the items
Right.
that they've listed out
I know.
are things that we don't cover.
Right.
I wonder in future if we should think about teacher conferences. I remember when I was a teacher, I always had to pay to go to all the conferences myself in public schools, and maybe that's an area where we do want to provide some funding if it's environmental education. I don't know, in the future, but I agree, this is clearly not complying with our guidelines.
So Delegate Simons, I don't know if that was a rhetorical question or not, but okay.
But not at this time. Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, next is the James River Association requesting $8,623.50 for its funding of its project.
So this is Monica, and I think this is very good overall. I for purposes of trying to maintain costs, I just did covering stencils versus all the supplies, but I'm open to what the group feels.
That's a good idea. Because I love the project, but we're gonna have to cut costs somewhere.
I'm not sure if we're running out yet. Should we get another update on where we are with funds?
I don't think we've spent a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't think we've spent that much. I mean, it does seem like this is solidly educational, and they've done a good job telling us exactly how much they're gonna need.
Yeah, no, I agree. Being where we are, I think you're right. I think we have the funding right now.
We can,
Chair, we have $153,171 remaining.
so let's go ahead and approve the full amount, and then if necessary, we can come back.
Sounds good.
$200.
Paddle trips.
Some of it is
For buses.
and substitutes.
Teachers.
So it looks like the paddle
Yeah.
trips by themselves would just be $7,200.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think that's the right recommendation.
Yeah.
Agree.
So $7,200.
Yes, ma'am.
So $7,200 for Chesterfield. Next, we will go to Keep Virginia Beautiful, requesting $8,000 to carry out their SAVE initiative.
And I liked this one, but I did say minus transportation.
Which is,
I think I only put in for the actual program supplies, which would have been 6,000.
okay, so if we're subtracting out, what, 650?
So we're looking at number 33, right? Keep Virginia Beautiful?
Right.
Yeah. So why are we taking away the program supplies?
No, not taking away. I just covered I recommended just covering the program supplies at 6.
Oh, okay, great.
And I guess what I'm looking at is they're looking for 8,000, and it looks like all of the program supplies, am I missing something, are
11,000.
are things that we would normally cover?
Yeah.
They are, yes. So she said,
They're only asking for 6,000 for program supplies.
yeah,
Correct. But they also ask for travel and awards.
yeah, so getting rid of the travel and awards just brings us at 6,000.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
If we, if we wanted to get super nitpicky, 250 of that is shipping, but it could be part of their, they only asked for 6,000 out of 11,250, right? So you
Yeah.
could assume that's part of their cost.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read it.
I agree.
We good with
So
6,000?
6,000?
Yep.
So 6,000 to Keep America Beautiful. Okay. Next is St. Margaret's School, requesting $13,570 for their stream watershed.
I wasn't sure how many children
We
were
have
involved
someone
in it.
here to speak to that.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am. We've got, currently we've got about 85 students enrolled at St. Margaret's School with a goal of growing to 125. The STREAM program also incorporates a summer camp that has about 50 campers for 4 one-week sessions that this is a part of. Additionally, we've been applying for funding with Bay Gateways through the National Park Service to become a Bay Gateway. Tappahannock was nominated as a Bay Gateway region. And so through that, we invite the local public schools to access the Rappahannock River and Chesapeake Bay through our campus and our docks and the stream program.
Great, thank you. Question?
Yes, ma'am.
So are you saying that your school is an access point for the river?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you saying that you all are inviting the public to use your access point for the river?
Yes, ma'am, through the stream program. Now, we got Bay Gateway's nomination after I submitted this grant, but we are actively working with the town of Tappahannock on becoming that gateway access point for the town of Tappahannock. And this funding would certainly bolster that opportunity for us.
Other questions?
This is a very exciting program to be a part of. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Love to hear that there's another access point. That's great. Looking at the request, I did see some things that I felt would be correct in supporting the 3 ecological bay quest charters at 1,500, the paddle at 900, the Chesapeake almanacs at 120, the WQM multimeter probe at 1,600, and the turbidimeter at 400. That would be my recommendation, but open to discussion, obviously, of course.
I didn't quite understand what you said. Did you said you didn't want to fund the turbimeter?
No, I'm sorry. The things that I outlined is what I think we should fund. I would recommend funding the Bay Quest charters, the paddle, the almanac, the multimeter probe, and the I can't say it.
And why wouldn't we fund the other ones, like the learning retreat and the overnight?
So your recommendation gets us to 4,400, I think.
The visit to Chesapeake is all in Virginia. And the program allows the students to visit what we have divided up into the 4 parts of the watershed: the headwaters, the fall line,
Back up to the mic.
the tidal portion, yes ma'am, and then also the Chesapeake Bay. And they do that through their grades. And the field trip is the engagement piece, the restoration activity is the legacy, the capstone, and each field trip relates to that experience. Additionally, thinking about those local charter groups, they are struggling to maintain, and getting this type of funding to those places, specifically promoting ecotourism, which is a new future, certainly for those rural places, I think is just part and parcel of what this fund has been a part of for the years that I sat on this advisory committee, certainly. So thank you for your consideration.
So on this sheet, on their application, I'm seeing 1,350.70, but on this sheet, I'm seeing 4,400.
That's someone else's recommendation.
Right.
Someone else's, okay.
Recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I do like this particular application because I feel like there's all these follow-ons with access to water, with ecotourism. Like they're clearly investing in their community, and I feel like we should encourage that.
And I love that they're going to the different tributaries of the watershed too. I think that's really important.
So why don't we then do the full amount, and we'll get to the end and see where we are.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I like that idea.
I agree. I've actually changed my mind, so thank you for sharing your passionate argument, sir. I do have one question because I see the project budget says $13,570, but the other one request says $13,750. So if we can just clarify which of the two.
I do not have the formal submission in front of me. If my mind says 13,750 is the number, and I perhaps mixed those two up.
I have 13,570 in one place and 13,750 another.
And I do not have.
So maybe somebody can just add up these items in the top grouping.
Yeah, and maybe the gentleman who applied could add them up real quick and we can come back to it and grant that amount. Does that sound good?
Madam Chair,
We have a fast calculator going.
I try. After adding it up, it actually, and I think someone else is doing it, so correct me if I'm wrong. 13,270.
That's what I got, and I didn't trust myself, so I did it a second time.
Okay.
Yes.
So we
We're
have,
gonna work on that.
We have
M
a,
part
we
of
have a
the
third,
acronym.
we have a third number.
we have a third number. We're going with the third number. What's the
Right.
third number?
13,270?
All right.
Okay, so we have 13,270. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Which means we just saved $300.
Yes.
And it shows that it really pays to be there in person, for sure. So thanks for coming in person.
Okay. All right, so now let's go to the County of Lancaster, requesting $9,200 to support their Oyster Heritage Learning Center.
I love this learning center, but I feel like for a fiberglass setting tank and transportation is what they're asking for 9,200. It's not broken down really.
Right.
Like, yes, it's just because it's the tank and transportation. I'm having I don't know. I want everyone else's opinion on this one because I do love the project, but it is a museum design component.
So neither transportation nor capital construction are things we fund, correct?
It's not specific enough.
Yeah. And I mean, transportation we don't fund and fiberglass setting tank. So I think that this is just a no.
No for now. $108. I know that there was a food request in there somewhere.
There was food and salaries and
Food
stipends.
and salaries included.
Yeah.
Charter bus transportation.
Yep. And I see they have asterisks there where it says part of funding request, full or partial. That still doesn't really make clear sense to me.
I also don't really understand what this group is. So it's not a school. It's a nonprofit. Is it like a museum? Like, does it have a place? Or is it just a collection of people who provide programming to students?
It's not clear.
Yeah, I think it's unclear. And I love the intent here to go to like 4 classrooms and 3 divisions with 500 plus youth. Like, it's a great idea. But I feel like they need to be more specific and take out all the salaries and maybe reapply next year. I hate to do that, but it's just not clear.
Yeah, we need more clarification on this one.
Yeah, also, I mean, the schools can also do these things. They can do these day trips and field trips without a nonprofit having to come in and run them.
Okay, so they can reapply next year. Trinity Episcopal School is requesting $15,000 to support restoration and management.
It's almost all construction. And it's a great idea as well, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope, next year. Okay,
And now we're to
Booker T. Washington Middle School, $7,150 for their kayak program.
This is a long-term funded one, is that right?
I was gonna say, maybe somebody
know
from
they
Newport
requested
News
before.
could tell us about it. Yeah, we funded this
We
before.
funded this before.
Yeah, I think
Almost at the same consistent level.
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the, this school is a magnet program, and it attracts students who are interested in marine biology from all over the city, and I think these kayak experiences are a big thing that kind of get people excited about this magnet school, so I think it's a good one.
Agreed.
I put full funding.
Yeah,
7,150.
yep.
Okay, next is Lord Fairfax Soil and Water Conservation District requesting $15,000 for their project.
I put a pass on this one because it's paying a graphic designer contract, installation materials, signs that cost $12,000, which I feel like they could get a better price on that. So I passed on this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Then come back. Okay, next is Nansemond River Preservation Alliance. Come make
I
your
love
pitch.
that.
Come make your pitch.
Hi, it's easy to make a pitch. For years now, this grant has supported our Watershed Explorers program and our Watershed Initiative. So in elementary schools, we go into the 3rd grade class and we have a 5-week program that includes this box. When we say printing, we really mean learning tools, where they learn to, we bring in oysters and critters to their classroom, and then they learn to measure oysters
Say
and
critters.
critters.
Okay.
And that's what we mean too. Anything that comes out of the oysters, we bring them in. But it's local artists and local ecologists and retired educators that design everything and work with our local teachers to make it SOL based. So we have workbooks that connect with YouTube videos. And this is an 8-week program for the 7th graders. The boxes are for the 3rd graders. In 7th grade, we bring all 1,200 out for a field trip experience, get in the waders, get on the boat. And then in high school, we have an ecology leadership program where all of those kids come back to the 3rd grade and 7th grade to help us teach what we do. So all in all, it's about 8 weeks. It's about 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks of programming, 8 for 7th grade, 4 to 5 for elementary school, and then the high school is ongoing. And in elementary schools, we reach all 11 of them, so that's 1,071 students, I believe. So we normally hit around 2,200 students and about 500 community members, because at the end of the season, we do the same field trip experience for the community, and invite anyone that wants to come out and experience it as well. We have just the best people around us, and we are a small organization that is mostly volunteer-led, and everything that is designed is by local artists and local teachers and biologists. So it's the coolest thing in the world. And we're thankful that you guys have supported it.
Thank you.
Looks good to me.
This is Suffolk, right?
Yes. I'm a big fan of their work and their projects, and I think the only reason we've even deducted funding in this past is because we didn't have enough at the end, so I put full funding. Didn't see anything to really deduct, but we usually just don't have enough money.
This is for 15,000.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we start with trying to do the full amount
Okay.
Yeah,
and then see where we end up.
it's a good
Okay.
reach.
15,000. Okay, next we have Three Rivers Soil and Water Conservation District for $2,105.
This is another one that I put for full funding. For the campers, it's a low price. for what they're doing. I wanted to look and see how many campers it was including. It was, okay, all rising 5th and 6th graders. And it's a summer camp. We don't see a lot of those either.
Okay,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
not bad.
I think encouraging the community to help educate and provide these enrichment opportunities in the summer is really important. It's kind of the time when the community really can engage with students, so I want to encourage that, so I'm in favor.
But help me here, the 2105, that includes the $450 for transportation, which if I remember right, we don't cover, is that right?
Well, we often don't, but it's not specifically listed as we will not cover transportation.
Okay,
We just often take it out because we feel like a public school could get that transportation.
okay, fair point.
My question was about some of the camper supplies, like T-shirts and backpacks and things like that. Are those things that are traditionally funded?
We have in the past for things like this. And their prices are not crazy expensive.
It's not on the list of no-nos.
Right,
Right.
all right, I'm okay.
I'm okay with it too.
So 2105. Okay, so we're good with that. Next, we have the Capital Region Land Conservancy for $7,500.
This one also talks about like bush hogging the existing meadow and construction time. And I didn't fund this one.
So, Madam Chair, I funded this one for $4,250 to cover native plant materials and signage, but that was, the other parts all felt like it was not within this granting.
Well, I think invasive species control is really important, and it's very laborious, so if we have people who actually want to take it on, we might want to encourage it.
I get that for sure, I agree.
What is bush?
But if you read carefully, like I agree with you 100%, but if you read carefully, it says cost covers chemical application by licensed and insured professional. I think that's a way to say they're paying someone to come and do it, right? That's a salary, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so how much are we doing here?
So it sounds like if we take out the bush hogging, which is just maintenance, and then I think, did we want to leave in the signage? So, I mean, it would go from 7,500 down to 6,500?
And
Because I believe Delegate Simons wanted to leave in the invasive species.
Yeah, attacking the invasive species.
So we're good with 6,500?
I say let's start there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, 65. All right. So next we have
Yeah,
65?
sorry,
Okay.
yeah.
Next we have Goose Creek Association requesting $10,000.
this also includes salaries.
Pull them up.
Let me see, at least that's what I have noted, but now I'm looking in the details to find out where those salaries
Yeah,
are.
it said 50 hours of labor at $20 per hour,
They have
Yeah.
travel.
and there's travel costs.
Yeah.
I didn't know where else the funding was going besides those.
Yeah, my recommendation was 0 for this project.
Me too.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
She said 0.
I did.
0.
too. Okay, I'm fine with that. The Alliance for the Chesapeake Bay is requesting $15,000.
So this is based in Annapolis, Maryland. Where is this work going to be done?
Right.
Well, the water quality project manager is based in Richmond, and I know they have an office there as well. So there's an office in Virginia, but maybe, I mean, I think it's a good project, and they were pretty detailed in where the funding was gonna go for kits and resupplies, printing and shipping. But I do feel like, the shipping's pretty expensive. It's $1,000. I do think the water monitoring kits are important, the work that they're doing, and they do a pretty amazing work, but,
So are these materials that they're going to send out to volunteers in Virginia to help volunteers monitor water quality in the Bay?
I feel like they need to be more specific about that.
Project leads in.
It says it's a volunteer-based water quality monitoring program that provides data to DEQ and others.
I mean, in a way, I think this is the type of thing we should fully fund if it's going to be citizens helping us collect data, but we could put a hold to make sure that we have enough money for some of the education priorities and come back to this.
I will say, I do like that they also showed their other funding sources too, right? That they are not relying solely on this money.
Yeah, and I like the project. I feel like we should fund it for sure. If you guys want to hold and come back, I'm okay with whatever. I definitely think we should fund it.
Yeah, okay.
Part.
Okay, Historic Hopewell Foundation, $12,000.
I have that I wasn't sure where the funding was going. The grant request just says $12,000. But I don't know what it's for.
It just says restoration of the dock, but I don't know what that means.
It doesn't say.
I think we just have to pass on this one then.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
I didn't see anything except for possibly there was a living,
Sure.
the living coastline, but I didn't think that was, it didn't really say how that would be incorporated, and that is like yeah.
Yeah, they need to reapply with more details, I think.
Okay, next we have the Friends of the North Fork of the Shenandoah River requesting $15,000. And they have included in here
A salary.
a cartography consultant fee for $1,500.
I think there's a teacher salary.
Teacher
Teacher salary.
Substitute
And-
costs.
Yeah, and an installation of signs for $935. But I do like that this is in another part of the state, and they are doing great work in some of their past related projects. I just don't think we can cover, the salaries and things like that. I like the art supplies and some of the other things, so. I didn't break it down, though. Did anyone else?
So, so if we take out
So this program, this one doesn't seem like it's field trips. It seems like maybe it's improving their school grounds to reflect, to make the hallways like the watershed, wall murals. I'm not sure this is really directly related enough to the Chesapeake Bay watershed.
I think I agree with you. I read it as kind of an art project and kind of bring the outdoor world indoors, but I wasn't really feeling that, it just didn't have that sense of, out of all the different kinds of opportunities that existed in the other applications, that I passed on this one.
I think one thing that I would be interested in funding, but maybe not out in isolation, is the EnviroScape model, right? Like that's really helpful, but I don't know how that fits in with their plan to sort of turn their school into the watershed.
Right.
I think the update maps of the watershed and the cartography consultant, that's just, I think this needs work, and maybe they should reapply.
Agreed.
I'm good with
So
that.
what time are we, what are we doing with this one?
Yeah,
Passing?
yeah, pass.
Pass.
Okay. All right, so next we have Amherst County Public Schools for $15,000.
This one right off the bat has $10,868 for engineering services. Or 12,000 they're asking. Yeah, 10,868 they're asking from us for engineering services.
Yeah, and Rip Rock isn't really the done thing.
And that's $2,500 for rock. So I passed on this one.
Yeah, let's pass.
Okay,
Yeah, pass.
yeah. And next is the Maymount Foundation.
So while I love the intent here for Title I students especially, I love the mention of that. I'm just not sure. It
There's
just
not a
says,
budget. Really?
yeah, it just says, oh, $10 for 1,500 students to do what? I mean, if
Right.
they could add what they're doing here, that sounds amazing. Because what a great price, $10 per student. But I just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, there's no budget.
I agree. I thought.
And what's interesting is that we've approved funds for them in the past, and I would imagine that in years past, they probably were much more detailed.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Because in concept, there's something there, but there's no real understanding. So maybe flushing that out and coming back.
So we'll just pass on it for this year.
Also hold and see if there's money, if we spend it all or not.
But we don't know what they're spending it on.
It's true. It sounds like it might be
No.
Maymount.
It's almost like someone forgot to put the budget in, which really is unfortunate.
Not just the budget, the description of what the students do during the experience, right? Like what are they getting for the $10?
Like, we're supposed to magically know what the Virginia Science SOL field trips are.
Or it's possible that there was somebody new and they were told to do this, that we always get the money.
The person who applied has been their educator for years.
Oh, okay.
So don't know that she's applied in the past, but that has been her role.
Okay.
Well, that's too bad. Maybe we can just go back and give them some constructive criticism on applications.
Yeah, I know, because it is a bummer.
Number 49.
Yeah, we're at 49. William Wetzel Middle School, $6,000.
So I recommended $3,003 for covering the supplies and field trip fees.
Yeah, and they need to know that they they can't include food in the application either. But I agree. I think we should fund them partially.
Okay. How much was that?
$3,003. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, okay, 3,003.
Okay.
Okay, Brown Academy, 13,500.
So I recommended covering the native plants and the prevention and trail mulch because my understanding would be like a trail space for folks to visit, but I'm open to seeing how folks feel about this because we've had a few of these where it's like restoration projects almost, and I'm not sure I feel I've been consistent in all of them, so
I think the only reason I feel a little bit better about this one is that it's restoration to create an outdoor classroom, right? Not, they have a planned educational experience for the students eventually once they can get the space done.
yeah.
I think one thing I had a question is that they're requesting 13,500 from us, but the restoration funding, okay, then they want us to share the invasive species. I just was a little confused where our money was going. But I like the project and I do love that it's an outdoor classroom. It's pretty unique.
So I'm getting, so what are we planning, what are we covering here?
I did not include the invasive removal, but I'm curious as to what our stance is on removing invasives and paying someone to do it versus like having volunteers.
Yeah, and we approved the invasive species removal in the earlier grant, even though it specifically said we were paying them. So yeah, I just don't want to be inconsistent. I do think we should definitely cover the restoration funding.
I think on this one, maybe we should narrow it to the $3,930 for native plants, maybe call it $4,000 for native plants, and leave it at that.
I would say maybe add in the 570 for the mulch for the nature trail since that's part of the outdoor classroom.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why we're not including the trees, but.
Yeah, I did include the trees. I think I put in 170 for the top three.
Yeah,
that looks
170.
good.
That's what I have written down as well.
So what's the total?
5,170.
So 5,170,
Yeah, that works.
okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, so now we're down to Rivanna Conservation Alliance, 11,985.
I like this one, and I took out the 2160 for workforce trainees.
Yes, I believe that I removed the stipend, and so my total was at 9,825.
Yeah, if we take the 2160 out, then that's what it brings it to.
Was it mentioned about the clothes and boots?
Yeah, true.
We could remove that too, yeah.
Excuse me.
I wasn't sure if this was for, because it's a workforce engagement. I wasn't sure if this was lower income and we were covering that and that made sense. I don't know, but I'm open to
I mean,
removing
it's
that.
okay
Yeah.
if we want to include that. I wasn't sure.
I think it's fine. They probably put it in because they know they need it somehow.
They said
I'd
it's,
say let's leave it in there for now.
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, they said it's underserved Charlottesville high school students are the ones that they're going to be doing the training for. So
Okay,
that's what
that's
they'd be
fine.
paying
So
for.
with it being underserved high school students,
Okay.
then they wouldn't be able to do it without those things.
Okay, that's fine.
So what's that number again?
9825.
What, 9825?
I'm good with that, ma'am.
Okay, so 9825.
Sounds good.
Where are we on our total?
Madam Chair, we are at $206,120.50, leaving $69,325 remaining. $69,325.
I had a question on this one. Some of the budget was to cover memberships in an association and also conference registration fees for a conference. I wasn't sure if we paid for that traditionally for staff.
Are we on number 52 now?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote the same thing, just taking the funding out for memberships and tickets. So that's $630 out of the total.
So what's the amount, where does that leave us with them?
14,370.
So are we good with 14,370?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so 14,370 for City of Chesapeake. Takes us to the Marinus Museum and Park, requesting 12,000.
I feel like, again, they've included staff in here for 5,000 and then a $2,000 evaluation fee, which I wasn't even sure what that really meant. But I did like the project quite a bit. For all the, it's a like 1,500 local ninth graders, so it's a nice reach. But I did minus 5,000 and another 2,000, bringing
So
it.
we take out 7,000, that leaves 8.
5, right?
5, okay. Are we good?
5. Yes, ma'am.
We're good with 5?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just looking at it. I didn't see where they have this fee. I'm intrigued
If you
by,
look at, yeah, if you look at the budget, there's an evaluation fee for 2,000 that they're requesting from us.
Evaluation fee?
It's a success measuring tool developed by ODU.
So is that paying ODU or paying to get access to the tool? Does anybody know?
I didn't know, that's why I took it out.
See that?
oh, I see where it is. So for $2,000, ODU is going to give us feedback on exactly what the 1,500 students learned? Is that what?
Well, that's what we proposed to take it out, right?
Yeah, okay, 5,000 makes sense then.
Okay, so 5,000 for the Marinus Museum?
Agreed.
Okay. Okay, we're down to Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water Conservation District, requesting 1965.56.
I liked this one. It was talking about educating students who are classified as disadvantaged, student populations, and it's only $1,965.56. And one thing I noted too is their printing for 500 booklets is only $675. So it certainly raised questions about why the others had such high printing costs.
Yeah, I think we should fund this one.
I'm good with this.
Okay. Okay, we are doing Thomas Jefferson at 1965.56. Okay. All right. So we're down to Loudoun Soil and Water Conservation District for $3,000.
Unknown caller.
So it looks like most of the funds are going to be going to riparian buffer planting and buying those plants. So I think this is a good one. That's definitely.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and the students are gonna be planting.
So that's
I think that's
$3,000.
good.
Okay, so good for that one, $3,000. Okay, now we may have to make a decision on the one that came in late as to whether or not we're going to even consider it. It's from the town of Ashland.
In the past, we have not,
Okay,
but, and that was just, we also didn't have enough money. And we had to cut other projects, but we said, you know, is it fair to the other people that get everything in?
we have some that we have to go back to as well.
Yeah, and
Yeah, exactly.
it's not.
I like that it was different, right? It's focused on pet
Right,
waste,
so-
right? So,
We're not going to the one that came in late, so let's go back to the ones that we have on hold. That is number 9.
I also had number 4.
This is the Waterman's Museum. Oh, let me first ask, what was our total of all of the ones that were funded,
For those funding.
or recommended for funding, I should say?
Yeah. Currently, it's at $230,456.06.
Leaving how much?
44,900.
I can't hear.
$44,989, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we basically have about 44,000 to work with. Okay,
And are we starting with number 4?
we're starting at number, I had,
I had number 4.
oh, I'm sorry, I have 4. I'm sorry. Okay, Buckingham Middle School.
6,000. This field trips, I think it's good. It has transportation, but.
Well, we
Yeah, Buckingham Middle School, 6,082.27.
I think we should fund it.
So we can do it minus the bus, because I think, again, the way that we've approached this before is that a school system ought to be able to provide the bus. Is that correct?
We have done that in the past when we've cut funding if we didn't have enough.
Well, buses have gotten really problematic because of bus drivers, having to pay them more, scarcity of bus drivers, so I'm not opposed to
Okay,
including
so
buses.
I mean, we just do the entire thing?
Yeah, let's
I think we should.
Okay,
I'm okay with that.
so that's 6,082. What does that leave us with now?
38, something?
Yes, Madam Chair, 38,907.
So now we're down to number 9.
we, at Waterman's Museum, 14,900.
Oh, yeah, this
And
was
this
the
was the display,
displays.
educational kiosk and exhibits and so forth.
Can we come back to this one?
Yeah,
Okay,
can we come back?
all right. Put them back on hold. Okay, number 14, Keep in Ricco Beautiful. This is the book. $5,342.
A draft.
This is the book.
The kindergarten book.
Kindergarten book, right.
Activity book, 3,100.
How much money do we have? Well, can we put this one on hold until we see what's the other,
Okay.
or do we want to make?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, number 25. Is the Bull Run Mountains Conservancy for $1,200.
The camp for, it's scholarships for 6 campers.
Scholarship for 6 campers.
It's kids. I think we should fund it.
I mean,
I do too. I was gonna
I
say,
don't know who these campers are. I mean, who are they and how are they chosen? But I'm good, okay. I just.
we can make a note of that to let them know we'd like to know when they give us a report back of like where they're going for these scholarships. But yeah, I think this is a good one.
And how did they choose what 6 and who are the 6?
Yeah.
So we're saying yes to this?
We can say yes,
Okay,
but they need to be more specific next time.
okay, so that's $1,200.
44 I have.
Yep, 44.
44 is the Alliance for the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh,
It's 15,000.
I liked this one. Let's see.
I think it's a great project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what we didn't like about it.
Shipping was
I
a
think it
little
was just,
expensive.
shipping, right? Yeah.
I think we were having a debate about it being from Annapolis.
But
Oh,
but
right.
it actually says at the top, if you look at it, the project leader coordinator is actually in Richmond.
They
Water
do,
Quality Monitoring Projects Manager.
they
They
do a
do
lot of
a-
work in Virginia, and I know of their work with several school systems in Virginia. I know this is unrelated, but they do a lot of work in Virginia.
Okay, yes.
We want to do 12,000 for, and not printing and shipping.
That's fair, down,
I mean,
Okay,
but we
yeah.
have the funds. I think maybe we should just do
Okay.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Me
we
too.
can do the 15.
Okay.
Where are we now?
that took
I think
about,
we had to go back to,
Okay, so now,
which ones do you have left that are on hold? Is that the last one?
We have 4, no, we have 14.
I think we're back to the first ones, right? That
So
we
we're back
talked
to 9
about.
and 14?
Yes,
so just 9 and 14,
yes.
And how much do we have left now?
plenty.
Madam Chair, we have 22,707 left.
9 is for 14,900.
I mean, Keep in Record Beautiful's part of Keep Virginia Beautiful, and then they do really amazing things. It's pretty unique that it's just going to kindergarten students, but I do get that it's printing a book and like coloring for students, but it's 3,100 students.
I say go ahead and do this one.
Yeah,
I say,
Yeah, okay.
so for number
14,
14, we'll just say yes?
yes.
And then maybe the remainder could go to Waterman's Museum.
Yes.
Oh, for full funding at the Waterman's Museum?
I mean, the remainder could go to them. I think they were asking for a lot.
They
Well,
were asking for
They were asking for 14,900.
2,900.
How much we have left at this point?
Madam Chair, there's 17,365 left.
So we can fully fund them.
We could fully
Were
fund it.
they, I mean, was there a connection, or is this just more? I just wasn't sure. But I guess they have the oysters, crabs, fish. I just wasn't sure. I saw a lot
Okay, well, a couple
with
things
Brazilian.
here. I don't think we pay the instructor honorarium, because that's part of the 14,900, so that would make it 14,300.
I don't think we should pay that, though.
We'd already funded 1,000, or suggested 1,000 to them already.
For something.
Oh, maybe my spreadsheet is wrong. I may not have updated. I thought we had said we were going to do a partial for one of their, but did,
We might have. So we could do the 14,300, take out the instructor honorarium. Do the 14,300, and then there were some things that we went through. I can't remember what they are. Hopefully somebody else has a better record, but we went through some earlier things, and we decided that we were not going to fund them as aggressively because we weren't sure how much money we were going to have.
Right.
So
James River Association was one.
I don't remember which one.
So I had come back very end for 31, James River Association and Isaac Walton. 0031 and also 0017. Or no, maybe it was 0018.
I hate to interrupt. Did we decide to fully fund the Watermans, the number 9?
no,
Minus
Took out the, what did we take out?
we took out the $600 for the honorarium. So
Okay,
I
so
think it's
14.
14,300.
But I'm just curious about what the maritime skills demonstration stations are for 3,000. What is that? I'm not sure how that.
I've been to this museum and they do a really good job. I can't specifically remember what that exhibit looks like. But they do bring students there quite often in that area.
and they do say the kiosks there'll be 3 panels to discuss the history, current state, regulations, and resiliency plans for the future. So I think that makes it a little more educational.
Yeah.
And that's what most museums are for, is to educate.
More, not just about the industry, but about like how they are like proactively planning for them.
They have cool educational stations set up in there where it's like hands-on, so it is pretty good stuff.
All right. Yeah.
And then what were the other last ones?
Were we back to 17?
So, yeah, we had 2 others that we thought maybe we could provide a little more to. I think one was the Chesapeake Bay Academy and the boat trips. I think we took out the dolphin tour and the whale tour, but we were in the end saying that maybe those were extra tickets that they were paying for when they go to the Virginia Aquarium. So maybe it's fair enough that the aquarium has to charge for an extra ticket to go on these tours because of fuel costs. So I think if maybe we could add a little bit to that.
Which one was that?
17, we can just make it to 15,000,
You mean 18?
or 17?
I was on, I think it's Chesapeake Bay
What's the number?
Academy. It's 18.
Oh, I thought we had kept whale tour. I thought that's what we were holding off on, whether it was the whale/dolphin tour.
Yeah, that's what I think it was. But we only gave them 3,100, if I'm correct.
So
Yeah.
just make it the full 6,056.
Yeah, so we were saying going with the full 6,000.
I'm okay with that.
I agree.
Okay, so that one becomes 6,056.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the next one?
The other one was 0031 James River Association.
Yeah, we did say we would come back to that one. And how much did we give them initially?
$72.99 is what my notes say.
How much?
$72.99 of what my notes say, but somebody might want to double check that.
And they requested 862,350.
I think we gave them the 7,200 for the stencils, but not any of the mask, gloves, tape, spray paint, none of the supplies. Am I correct?
We should,
I think we should fully fund it.
I think
Yeah.
we should give them the 862,350.
Okay.
Yeah.
yes.
And I also had a question mark next to St. Margaret's, which is 0034. If we have any money left.
I think we gave them all but $300.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think it was a mathematical thing there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was everything. It was.
Yep.
So then how much are we left with now?
$2.50. No, I'm just kidding.
Close. $121.
Okay, we're not gonna spend $121 here, so
Right, we're good.
I think we're good. But these are only recommendations since we do not have a quorum. So at some point, we have to come back where we have a quorum and ratify these recommendations. Okay, so when would we have to do that? Because these are, like,
Madam Chair, I know some committees are meeting a couple of days before session, the week of session. So, most people will be here at that time. It's your prerogative.
okay, for our ladies that are virtual, is it possible for either, we need 4 people to be present, correct? Is it possible for either or the both of you to be in Richmond on, what are those dates, the 6th and 7th?
It would be 6th and 7th, Monday and Tuesday.
January 6th or 7th?
Yes.
Yes,
The
so
sixth.
So that we can have a quick meeting to ratify these recommendations.
Yes.
yes, the 6th is preferred.
Okay, so we simply need to find a time.
Madam Chair, we could send out another poll to the members.
Okay. I mean, I'll be here on the 6th.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can be here.
I do, mornings are preferable. I think we used to have these a little bit earlier, so versus the afternoon, but I'm happy to.
Okay. It'll be quick. We just simply need to get in, ratify what we just did here today to ensure that what we've made these recommendations go into effect so that we can get these grants out.
And Madam Chair, to that end, is it possible from the staff that we can get a simple spreadsheet that identifies what the organization was, where they're located, and the amount we approved, so that we can see it all added up and we can not kind of relitigate any of these?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll on the 6th, I'll be driving in for the week, so if it's not too early in the morning, I'd appreciate it, maybe 10 or 11 or something like that.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. And thank you, ladies, for joining us virtually to at least get this part of the work done. And we'll try to get ourselves together on the 6th to ratify these recommendations. Thank you, and we adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia.